I built a TRAZYN The Infinite. Is it TRAZYN? TRAZYN The Infinite combo deck for cEDH Night, Warhammer cEDH Night the other night, and it was absolutely amazing. This video was sponsored by Moxfield. Thank you to our sponsors. Moxfield is the best deck building website on the internet. They have so many incredible features. Give us a follow in there. Make an account. It's absolutely incredible. Also, the best way to support us is through Patreon. A $5 Patreon subscription gets you a free altar sleeve at the end of the month. Thanks again. Enjoy this video. Now we're going to jump right into it. Let's switch over. I'm really proud of this transition. All right, here we go. So we're going to get into it. TRAZYN The Infinite is a 4/6 Death Touch Necron, and as long as it's on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all artifact cards in your graveyard. Pretty cool. So we got some standard stuff in here. We got our standard like mono black card draw type of stuff, big draws all around. Not a ton of it though. Vilis is going to be a good reanimation target. Then we got our ramp. We've got a lot of ritual-based ramp, 3-4 different things called ritual right in there, right off the bat. There are a lot of playtest cards in this deck because I made it like 2 hours before I was supposed to stream. Then we've got our mana rocks. These are also going to be fairly standard as well. We've just got one after another, after another, after another. All the free ones you can think of. And they just kind of speed things up. They're going to help get the commander out really fast and maybe play some big spells. The goal of the deck is to get a bunch of cool artifacts in the graveyard and combo off. But we did throw some black good stuff in there as well. We've got our Consult, our Dauthi Voidwalker, and our Opposition Agent to maybe slow people down a little bit. A Praetor's Grasp to get that Thassa's Oracle to consult with as in a pinch. A little bit of removal and a fun value engine here. We do have a Bolas Citadel Sensei's Top to really start grinding things through. Neither of these are really going to do that much if they're in the graveyard. But if we can get them on the field, Bolas Citadel is going to make things snappy. And Sensei's Top is just good value, especially with the Citadel. You can get really, really snappy. We've got a whole lot of cost reducers to help make things go a little faster. Jet Medallion, Kyrich, Helm of Awakening is going to make things really explode if you can get it onto the field during a turn where it's time to go off. And then a Heartstone is going to make all those activated abilities of things in the graveyard snap that much harder. Both of these are universal though, so you have to be very careful about playing them. Then we've got our awesome suite of tutors. We've got a Grim Tutor, Vamp Tutor, Imp Seal, Wish Claw, Demonic Tutor. These are all going to get combo pieces that we want to have in our hand to play to make things explode. So they're going to get our Adnaz, our Peer into the Abyss, maybe a Buried Alive or something, or an Entomb, something that's going to put stuff in the graveyard. What I love about this deck is you do want it in the graveyard, so a main phase Adnaz into discard is actually going to be a really viable option, because once you discard, you could just win during, or during the next person's upkeep, during cleanup. Like, you have a window in there to dump stuff in the graveyard and just go off as long as TRAZYN does not have summoning sickness. Next, we get a whole suite of tutors that get stuff into the graveyard. We've got an Entomb, a Final Parting, Unmarked Grave, Buried Alive, a Kuldotha Forge Master, Insidious Dreams, which involves discarding from hand. Diabolic Intent is going to get stuff in the graveyard as well. So all of those are going to tutor stuff directly into the yard, which really helps. Or maybe not the Diabolic Intent, but that will maybe get a creature into the graveyard, or a combo piece creature that you need into the graveyard. We've got a Mesmeric Orb, a Scourge Familiar, and an LED to help get things from hand into graveyard as well. I've found that Scourge Familiar is monumental in this deck. It's going to absolutely help you ramp and get pieces into the graveyard at the same time, which is everything that this deck wants to do. Mesmeric Orb is going to combo with a bunch of things, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But in the meantime, we do have a little bit of recursion. We will need to get some spells back occasionally. So we've got our Yawgmoth's Will, and then we've got 2 pieces of creature recursion, mostly just to get Vilis back out of the graveyard. Then we've got things like Mirage Mirror, which on the field is great, and having your commander be a Mirage Mirror is crazy. And we've got a bunch of Mana Rocks and Untappers. So things like Voltaic Key, Metalworker, Grim Monolith, Chromatic Ori, Basalt, Gilded Lotus, Thrawn Dynamo, and Mana Vault. Anything that makes about 3 mana is going to be massive and help you combo with the next set of cards that I'm going to put out here. Staff of Domination, Voltaic Construct are both going to make infinite mana if one of those and a 3 mana producing Mana Rock is in the graveyard. By tapping for 3 and then using the 1 extra mana to untap it, you'll have 2 mana left over, or tapping for 3 and then using 2 mana to untap it, and you'll have 1 mana left over. And that will make Infinite colorless, and from there you can go off with the Staff of Domination. Then we've got things like Retrofitter Foundry, which if you're able to untap it, you can make a lot of dudes. Pili Pala is going to make colored mana. Goblin Cannon's going to be a mana sink to just Zorch the whole table. Walking Ballista as well as a mana sink. We've got Triskelion as a backup for creating counters, and then Farmstead Gleaner untaps to put a counter on it. So if you can tap for mana, 3 mana, and then untap it to put a counter on it, and you've got either Ballista or the Triskelion out there, you can Zorch the table. And then we've got a really cheeky combo with that my friend Vo the Gatherer, Joseph, put on me on, which is Ventifact Bottle and Magistrate Scepter. You can put counters on, charge counters on your commander, basically, and then with an untapper, you can untap it and then remove charge counters to take extra turns, which I think is really funny. And then my favorite card in the set in the deck that no one has let me resolved is going to be a Morality Shift, not Mortality Shift, Morality Shift. It's 7 mana, so you're looking at peer mana here, basically, and it says exchange your graveyard and your library, and then shuffle your library. So even with no cards in graveyard, you can cast this and go off right then. As long as it's got the combo in there and your commander doesn't have Summoning Sickness, you can go off immediately. Then we've got a couple of lands in there. We've got a bunch of swamps. We've got some utility lands, stuff that's going to make bigger mana. Mishra's Workshop lets you cast your commander, which is crazy. Obviously, I've got a playtest copy of it. And then we've got, you know, your standard speed things up. Cabal Coffers, City of Traders, Ancient Tomb. Urza Saga is pretty cool as well. So there's a whole bunch of good stuff in there. So that is my TRAZYN The Infinite deck. And right, Mesmeric Orb. We wanted to talk about that. Mesmeric Orb and, like, just, where is it? Mesmeric Orb and a Basalt Monolith lets you tap the Basalt for 3 and then pay 3 mana to untap it, and it mills a card. And that lets you dump the whole deck in the graveyard, which is absolutely incredible. It's where you want it to be. That's my TRAZYN The Infinite. TRAZYN. It's T-R-A-Z-Y-N. Maybe it's TRAZYN? I don't know. But that's my Warhammer cEDH deck that I made last night. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe, smash the buttons, give us a follow everywhere you can. Keep your eyes out for amazing stuff in the future.